We have current events. I messed up on the date, y'all. It's actually December 20th, 2025. YouTube was hacked. I don't know if y'all saw that. IRS hires AI agents. I said this was coming, but who am I? I'm no one. And self-flying fighter jets are here. This is the foundation. I am Sot L, seeker of truth L, speaker of truth L. And this is current events. Let's do our dance. Make sure you check out welcome to thefoundation.com. Sign up for the email list. You got a little box right here. Put your little, put the email in there. But if you look at this left pane, we have this key. As of today, we are still doing our half off the startup fee of every single tier. 50% off. You have to email us admin at welcometothefoundation.com or support at welcometothefoundation.com. It is your choice. Completely up to you. But if you would like to take advantage of that, we're just, getting into the, getting into the end of this year commercially. So, just looking to help y'all get started off on the right step for the new year. Perihelion, we have got some current events for you. Let's jump into it. Check this out. U.S. seizes another oil tanker. He stole another boat. U.S. seized another oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem said today, with support from the Defense Department, U.S. Coast Guard took control of the tanker early Saturday, this morning. Noem said in a statement on X, which showed apparent footage of the operation, the ship was last docked in Venezuela. She said, quote, "The United States will continue to pursue the illicit movement of sanctioned oil that is used to fund narco-terrorism in the region," end quote. It is the second such operation by the U.S. in recent weeks. On the 10th of this month, December, the U.S. seized an oil tanker that the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, said was smuggling sanctioned oil from Iran to Venezuela. What do I know? I thought Venezuela had oil. I don't know anything though. I'm confusion. I had to do the reader view. They want people to sign up. Wall Street ends higher as tech rally continues, led by Micron. I don't know if you're up on Micron. Let's get into this. Ooh, it's not the story. They got us. Anyways, Micron is a company that does RAM for computers, random access memory, chips or sticks, DDR3, DDR2, I don't know if they do DDR2, DDR4, for sure DDR5, as well as they create hard drives, solid state drives, SSDs, NVMe drives, right? No longer will they be offering consumer components with regards to RAM and drives. This is a big thing. I don't know if you at all follow computers, you're into computers. If you try to buy a new computer, you've seen the prices of these hard drives, these solid state drives, and RAM chips are ridiculously, exponentially more expensive than they were just last year. I mean, I paid, it was like $112 for 64 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM. It was two sticks of 32 gigs. I checked, that same two sticks is $500. A year ago, $112, and that may have included the shipping and the tax. Can't remember. But I remember $112. And I know it's over $500. That's a big thing. That looked very good to investors due to the fact that these data centers, these AI data centers are going up faster than nuclear power plants. And there's more money in transacting with corporations that are creating these graphics processing units that allows AI models to run. You know, I know they mostly sell this stuff by the token. If you're into, Chat GPT or anything, you understand what I'm saying. The tokens per second, how quickly the response can be spit out by the large language model depends on how strong and how many GPUs are running. And, there's systems that have 8, 10, 12, 24, 32 graphics processors in them. And these things, they've gotten expensive as well. You can look them up. The graphics processor that was $1,000 is now $5,000. This is also due to inflation, but this artificial intelligence, and they're getting more and more clients, so they need more and more infrastructure. And we'll get into the IRS, but, computers, laptops, so on and so forth, especially if you're looking for your computer or workstation to do video editing, or if you're looking to do high-end gaming, or if you're looking to run artificial intelligence, large language models, or if you're looking to craft large 3D models or 3D rendering, video encoding, this is going to get very, very expensive. And I believe this is going to affect the consumer market. I also now see why Apple dropped their new Macs and why they were everyone was like, man, they're charging so much for the RAM upgrades. If you want a Mac with 16 gigs of RAM or versus 8, or 32 gigs of RAM versus 16, it was an exponential price jump. But Apple now solders RAM and hard drives to their motherboards, so you can't even upgrade it. You have to buy it from the factory the way you need it, which is another thing that, I could talk in length about. But the bottom line is they were charging ridiculous amounts for their RAM upgrades. Now it makes sense to me why they were doing that. They foresaw what was happening. Of course, they're a large producer of electronics and consumer electronics. They're also a large purchaser of consumer electronic components. So I'm sure they saw the writing on the wall, but this is just beginning as far as I'm concerned. And, this is going to trickle down into even gaming consoles. I would say even Fire Sticks and things of that nature, Chromebooks. And, I'm sure there'll be some sort of technology with regards to drivers and smaller operating systems. But this whole Windows thing, Windows 11 and the drop of Windows 10, the tech consumer market is really in a very, very interesting point right now, and it's not really good for consumers. Plus, you have inflation, by the way. You like the segue? NBC News, inflation falls 2.7% as slower housing and food increases offset a surge in electricity. So, and I think this headline is misleading. But let me just read this. Inflation in November fell to 2.7%. The Bureau of Labor Statistics said, a positive sign for consumers on its face. However, November's data was collected later than normal. The release figures may include significant holiday discounting, which could have put downward pressure on the overall figure. Quote, it's possible that this does reflect a genuine drop off in inflationary pressures, end quote. This is Paul Ashworth, Capital Economics Chief North America economist, who went on to say, quote, but such a sudden stop, particularly in the most persistent services components like rent or shelter, is very unusual, at least outside of a recession. So it's usual within a recession, but outside of a recession, it's unusual. Morgan Stanley's economists concurred, saying, quote, it's difficult to draw strong conclusions, end quote, from the report. They warn that given the way the BLS processed the report without October data, inflation, quote, could see reacceleration in December, end quote. They're playing with the numbers. There is no way that inflation is down to 2.7%. And, I'm not even going to use the example with regards to the RAM and the hard drives, even though that does have a component a component of inflation involved inherently. That has market factors that is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. But, bread, eggs, the only thing that I could say is been holding pretty steady, I would say would be gasoline. Not at all surprising if you got a president who's stealing boats with gas or with crude oil in them. I mean, that's not actually funny. Well, maybe it is. It's actually shameful. But, that's the United States. But I guess I'm asking you, do you think inflation is at 2.7%? You let me know. PayPal, you guys see this? It's going to load. PayPal plans to launch a bank serving small businesses around the United States. And, some people would be like, this is great. PayPal announced this week that it submitted regulatory applications to create PayPal Bank, a new industrial loan company to support small businesses. The company said Monday that it filed documents with the Utah Department of Financial Institutions and the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation to launch PayPal Bank. PayPal said that the bank would allow the firm to provide lending solutions for small businesses, as well as interest-bearing savings accounts. It also plans to pursue direct membership with bank networks to complement processing and settlement activities through existing banking relationships. If PayPal's application is approved, customer deposits would have FDIC insurance coverage, which protects up to $250,000 per depositor per insured bank. They're going to focus on small businesses. So there's a gap, right, in lending, especially at the corporate level when it comes to the requirement or lack thereof of collateralization. And any financing that is achieved without collateralization is inherently going to be given in lieu of higher interest rates. Now, PayPal has been known to be very predatory with their lending. They do, what is it called? Working capital loans for businesses who have their PayPal business accounts. And you may know what I'm talking about. They'll watch or pay attention to the invoices being paid and how much, currency is coming into the account. And based off their algorithm, they offer financing, and it can be very expensive. The fee for their financing can be up to $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, which means, in a sense, PayPal would offer to finance or to lend the business, let's say, $15,000, but then there would be a finance fee of around $5,000. So the business received $15,000. It goes into, you can transfer it from the PayPal account straight into the business account. But now the business owes $20,000. And what they do is they take a portion of each payment that comes through that PayPal account. Now, imagine what happens during a recession or a downturn or, legislation changes, regulations with regards to a specific industry, and you have a small business. This can be very crippling. It could also be very, very positive. So, me personally, I don't think it's a good idea. Let's do this again. Failed to do the dance. Okay. Well, that was about gold. I feel like my thing is getting messed with. CNN Americans have a new thing to worry about, a stuck job market with no quick fix. The latest jobs report had its share of shutdown related quirks, but a familiar theme cut through the noise. The U.S. labor market is stuck in a rut. Employers are still hiring, but job growth is at one of the weakest paces in the past 2 decades. That's 20 years. That's 20 years. The quote, low hire, low fire, end quote, dynamics persisted in November with an unemployment rate driven higher, partly by more people looking for work but not finding it. Long-term unemployment increased. Discouraged workers were on the rise and economic disparities deepened. Quote, hiring will certainly not, while certainly not on freeze, is on hold. What is that? What's the difference between freeze or a hold? And people that have jobs are absolutely holding on to them with white knuckles. End quote. This is Dan North, Allianz Trades senior economist for North America, who went on to say, quote, I see that as definitely a labor market that is stagnating, end quote. So where does it go from here? Some economists say this low gear state can continue for quite some time, but others note that it's only a matter of time before the labor market sees a major shift, and there are several ways that could happen. Although the labor market has cooled, the overall economy is still growing at a decent clip and productivity hasn't slipped. It hasn't, because they're using artificial intelligence, y'all. The U.S. economy's job gains have averaged 55,000 a month, which may be reflective of the, quote, pervasive uncertainty, end quote, caused by stark changes in U.S. trade and immigration policy. But the American population is also going through its own transformation. This is Joe Brusalas. Brusualas. I tried that was 3 times, y'all. The supply of labor is shrinking as a baby boomer generation ages out of the workforce and additional constraints are placed on immigration. So there's no job market because people can't find a job because there's nobody to get a job. Wait. The supply of labor is shrinking as the baby boomer generation ages out of the workforce and additional constraints are placed on immigration. You see how they do? That was a whoopity-wop, y'all. That was a whoopity-wop. So people in the country can't get a job because the supply of labor is shrinking. There's not enough people to get look, I'm just going to keep going. And there's been a shift in the break-even rate of employment. That's true. Put simply, the economy doesn't need to create as many jobs as it once did in order to sustain itself. I would agree with that. It's very, very expensive to hire new employees, train them. It's very expensive. People take a course. And there's been a shift. I already said that. Quote, my estimate is that we need to hire 50,000 a month to keep the labor market conditions stable, end quote. So that's 5,000 lower. The economy will grow at around 2%. Financial conditions will be okay and will probably ease off a little bit in the inflation side. That doesn't sound good. Especially when you think about these AI agents. Number one cause of America's affordability problem just got worse. America's cost of living problem, and I know some people ask, like, why does your stuff look, a lot of times I put it into Reader because they want me to create an account, and I'm not creating an account. You know, you look at a certain number and they're like, oh, you've used your last free, I don't care. I'm stubborn, I'm hard-headed, and I know stuff. But I digress. I apologize. America's cost of living problem is simple. Math. I don't know why I said it like that. I'm tripping. Let me stop. Inflation spiked several years ago, and paychecks haven't had enough time to catch up. If paychecks ever catch up to inflation, you guys should do some research. Latest jobs report revealed that the problem got even worse last month, and a separate inflation report could show that the crunch is really on. American workers made an average of $36.86 an hour in November. This is up 3.5% over the past year. That may sound like a nice raise, but it's barely enough to keep pace with 3% annual gain in consumer prices, and it was the lowest annual paycheck growth that Americans have had since 2021. 4 years. And of course, that's just an average, boosted by a 4% wage gain last month among top earners. So they averaged it out over all incomes, not just blue collar, is what that said. That's wild. Middle income household paycheck gains were just 2.3%, and low income household gained just 1.4% in pay over the past year. Smaller raises and rebounding inflation are fueling America's cost of living problems. Quote, wage growth is easing into a sustained affordability crisis, end quote. This is Joe Musala's chief. Hey, man, it's the same one. The annual growth in American workers' hourly pay topped out at 5.9% in March 22, which was never sustainable, but has been steadily falling ever since. That trend is, in part, a result of smaller cost of living adjustments as inflation has returned to near normal from the 4-decade high set in June 2022. And I'm pretty sure with the core inflation, or one of those inflation numbers, they exclude, what do they exclude? Energy and food. They don't even count that because it tears up their numbers. But sinking wage growth is also a result of a worsening job market. The U.S. economy has lost jobs in the 3 of the past 6 months, and 2025 is on pace to post the worst job growth since the panorama wiped out a record number of jobs in 2020. So not all of those didn't come back, by the way. People are staying in their jobs for longer. The rate of workers who voluntarily quit their jobs fell to a 5-year low in October. The U.S. government reported last week if employers aren't losing workers, there's less incentive to give them big raises to stick around. That's why the Federal Reserve Chair JPZ said last week that the best way to fix Americans' cost of living concerns is to boost the job market. So the Fed cut interest rates in 3 straight meetings, aiming to lower the cost of businesses to borrow money. In theory, that should free up more capital for employers to spend on hiring. This is what they say. It never really happens like that, though. A better labor market would give Americans more choices in jobs, increasing the amount of pay companies would need to shell out to keep and attract workers. If that keeps up, then over time, people will adjust to costs that have stayed elevated after the price shock from a few years ago. They want us to adjust to the costs. They're not even talking about adjusting the cost. Look, we can't do anything about that. What you need to do is you need to adjust your expectation of how much this is going to cost. That's what all y'all, you need to adjust. You need to have an attitude adjustment. Adjust your attitude. Because, well, they used to tell me there's starving people in Africa that could just start just talking about a whole nother country when it has, what does that got to do with me? But there's another side of the equation too. Prices, which have been creeping higher in the recent months after falling to a 4-year low in April. Annual inflation is right back to 3% level, where it started when the president of the United States took office in January. Not looking good. So here's what's happening. They're doing stuff like this. Olive Garden plans nationwide rollout of lighter portions menu following successful testing. Look, I mean, hats off to them. This is innovative. It's just really sad because it speaks to the nature of the United States economics for the average person. Darden restaurants will roll out a new lighter portion entrees menu at all Olive Garden locations in January. The company announced during its quarterly earnings call Thursday. And I haven't been to Olive Garden in decades. I'm serious. Minimum 20. They used to have unlimited salad and breadsticks. I wonder if they still have that. Times are rid of. The Italian market chain. I'm sorry. Wow. Why did I say that? The Italian American market chain, I threw that in there, is adding the new menu section, which features 7 existing dishes in smaller portions at lower prices, after seeing strong results from tests earlier this year. CEO Rick Cardenas said on the call, quote, Olive Garden has seen a double-digit increase in affordability perceptions. Perceptions, not affordability, period. Affordability perceptions. Like it appears more affordable. From guests who order from the lighter portions menu and an increase in frequency among these guests, which should help build traffic over time, end quote. Olive Garden plans to complete the rollout system-wide in January, next month. We had originally expected to roll it out over the fiscal year and maybe even into the next fiscal year, but it's doing so well and delivery is doing so well, we just decided to keep going. The menu section is an additional option for guests and is not replacing anything. So they're just making smaller portions. Look, so there's, what is it? Let me get to the point. Lighter portion entrees are priced between $12.99, $13.99, though they vary by market. So basically you can get a half order. They're selling half orders or quarter orders or 3/4 of the order. The marketing, the way they're doing it and the way they're couching it, I think is great. But it's basically pizza by the slice or pizza by the half pie or something like that. They're not. Let me just move forward. YouTube got hacked, y'all. YouTube. And they're going to say, oh, it was an outage. YouTube has resolved a widespread outage. It was widespread. After hundreds of thousands of users reported problems watching videos on the platform. This was 5 days ago. At around 8 p.m. Eastern, YouTube said in a post on X and a Google support thread that it was investigating an issue playing videos on YouTube, YouTube Music, and YouTube TV. Yo, that's a lot. About a half hour later, YouTube said the issue had been resolved and content should play as usual on the Google-owned video sharing platform. It did not say what caused the outage. And, you know, I wouldn't say it. You lose customers. We come out, hey, everything's good. We got hacked, but we took care of it. Hey, listen, you know how many customers we going to lose the next morning? I understand this, but I'm just going to say they got hacked. We're going to see more and more of this. You're going to see, utilities hacked. That's going to work people's nerves. Fox Business, Musk predicts AI will create universal high income and make saving money unnecessary. You own nothing and be happy. You won't need to save money. You'll make so much money every day, every week or whatever. Why save it? Just spend it. Spend it. Just keep spending it. Buy my stuff. You can rent it. Listen, you rent the blender on the app. It's my app, right? I got the app. It's .com, but it's an app. And you rent the blender on my app. The drone will drop off the blender at your doorstep. You got so much money. You don't need. You're so rich. Why would you buy anything? Just rent everything. It's so convenient. Drop off the blender. All you got to do is open your door, pick up the blender, use it. Just rinse it out. Matter of fact, don't even clean it. Throw it in the box, push the button. The drone will come pick it up. Bada bing, bada boom, you're done. Bing bong, or, East Coast. I don't know. It's been a while. So, it's unnecessary. How are you going to get universal income is what I'm wondering. He also said that he would like his X app to be like WeChat in China. And if you know anything about China and the surveillance state, This guy's he's an interesting man. Me personally, Tesla CEO predicts artificial intelligence and robotics will eliminate poverty and the need to work. I don't believe this. I believe this is being said so we don't riot. That's what I think. Could I be wrong? Absolutely. I could be crazy. Y'all don't even know. I could be in like my Tigger underwear right now doing this show with a lollipop in my hand. Who knows? But I'm telling you, I don't think this is correct. I think this is the rap. That's what my dad said. That's the rap. But what's the rhythm? Find out what the rhythm is. This is the front. Everybody's gonna be happy. You're gonna get a whole bunch of money. You won't even be poor anymore. You won't even need to save money. It's gonna be so great. I don't believe this, y'all. I don't believe this. But let's stick around. Let's see what happens. IRS deploying AI agents following workforce reduction report. The IRS has Skynet. I'm going to call it Skynet. And if you haven't watched Terminator, to watch Terminator 1, then watch Terminator 2, and then watch Terminator Dark Fate, and don't watch any other Terminator movie. Just trust me. Trust me. Seeker of truth, L. Trust me. Watch Terminator 1, watch the Terminator Part 2, and then watch Terminator Dark Fate, and skip all of the other ones. You will be happy you did if you have no idea about what the Terminator is. This movies, Arnold Schwarzenegger, get to the chopper, that guy. If you watched the other movies and you heard what I just said, you probably laughed or you started crying because you know what I'm talking about. Me personally, I'm the crier because it ruined it. But then Dark Fate, so then you can just erase everything. Skynet, they're making Skynet. The Internal Revenue Service is implementing the Salesforce artificial intelligence agent program across multiple divisions in the wake of a mass workforce reduction earlier this year. This is according to a report. The tax collecting agency will deploy Agent Force in the Office of Chief Counsel, Taxpayer Advocate Services, TAS, and the Office of Appeals. You trying to appeal a tax decision? You talking to a bot, son. Get ready. Get ready. Salesforce Executive Vice President of Global Public Sector Solutions, Paul Tatum. That's a long job title, man. Anyways, he told Axios in a report published Friday. The announcement comes after the IRS slashed its workforce by at least 25%. Was that before or after it received 80,000? What was that, 80,000 new workers or something like that? Y'all remember, you know what I'm talking about. Was that before or after? Hey, breadcrumbs. Breadcrumbs. Tatum said the AI agents are built with, quote, a lot of guardrails, end quote. Yo, we're going to be fighting bots making stupid decisions, messing up the return, and then you trying to talk to customer service. It's an AI. They rule against you. You appeal. AI denies your appeal. I know I'm kind of, what do they call it? I'm being facetious. I am. Maybe a little dramatic, but this isn't necessarily inappropriate for what we're talking about. Look, AI, look at this one. AI could drive U.S. unemployment to 20%. Senators warn as new bill targets job tracking. Listen, start businesses. Understand status and standing. It's time. Start your trust. Set your private estate up. Here we go. They're built with a lot of guardrails and are not authorized to make final decisions or disperse funds, but they work. I'm talking like they're alive, like they work. They really work. They're programmed and deployed in the Office of Appeals, though, sir. I read that up there. What do you mean? They won't make final decisions or disperse funds. Woo. What do you? How many hacks you think are going to happen? You think government has never been hacked before? Disperse funds. Get ready for that. Get ready. Quote, Salesforce doesn't advocate for a blind AI processing tax returns without a human being involved in reviewing and supplementing it. Okay. The program is designed to help overworked IRS staff process customer requests more quickly and efficiently. Ooh. You know what? I'm just going to leave that one right there. Let's move on. How? This one kind of, this one kind of blew my mind. This is NBCU Academy. I didn't even know NBC had a university or an academy. It's crazy. But I guess they do. I don't know why it's taking so. Actually, yes, I do know why it's taking so long to load. Let me quit playing. But AI could interview you for your next job. Did you know that? Earlier this year, a recruiter from a sports media company invited Chapman University sophomore C.J. Smith to a virtual interview for an internship. She was excited, but soon realized the first round chat wouldn't be with the recruiter. Instead, Smith was instructed to record a 3-minute video for each of the 8 questions provided on a platform called SparkHire. Sparkfire. SparkFire the AI. Quote, I knew I wasn't talking to a human, but I honestly didn't really expect the screen to just be a front-facing camera of myself, end quote. She went on to say, quote, that was super uncomfortable. In a virtual interview with another person on the other side of the screen, at least you can be charming and see if you're making a good first impression. Smith is one of many young reporters to experience alternative job interview formats. For those AGIFs, you want an AGIF? Alternative job interview format? We got some new AGIFs over here we're going to just implement. We're going to deploy the AGIFs. The AGIFs. I'm blown. And y'all wanted me to start doing current events again? Okay, video resumes. Where was I at? I'm sorry. The AGIFs, including one-way video interviews, video resumes. I said resumes, didn't I? And reciting answers to an AI chatbot. In recent years, incorporating artificial intelligence into the job application process has become the norm. This is according to the World Economic Forum, the WEF. 88% of companies use AI to initially screen job candidates. Nearly 2/3 of applicants also use AI while applying to jobs. So they know that you're using GPT to do your resume or your resume. They know. AI knows itself. The dead, they bury the dead. Nearly 2/3 of applicants also use AI while applying for jobs. This is according to 2025 report from the recruitment firm Career Group Companies. Lili Fogel, I like that name. Lili Fogel. Fogel. I like Fogel. No, Fogel. I like Fogel. Y'all know I got ADD. I'm sorry. The director of the Interview Institute at the Professional Association of Resume Writers and Career Coaches and the founder of Impressive Interviewing said that companies have been using AI to look through resumes since the 1990s. Did you know that? I bet you didn't know that. But in the current competitive job market, candidates are also using AI to mass send applications to open roles, and companies are using AI to interview candidates, which she called the AI recruiting doom loop. So you're using AI to apply for jobs, and AI is interviewing the AI that you got applying for your. It's getting wild. Let's move on, yo. What is this? Oh, this is the one. And then I'm out of here because I'm going to go get my blanket and, meditate and pray. Fox Business, pilotless fighter jets could transform aerial warfare. Northrop Grumman's Project Talon. It costs fractions of a piloted aircraft. You don't need all the, things to keep the pilot alive, I guess. The future of aerial warfare might be missing one key component, the pilot. Fox Business was exclusively invited to Northrop Grumman's unveiling of its next-gen autonomous fighter. It's Auto. I almost said Autobot. I'm not even going to lie. Named Project Talon. It's meant to serve as a loyal wingman to piloted fighter aircraft as a teammate in combat missions. Yeah, okay. For what? For like the first 3 months? Quote, an autonomous aircraft has the capability of doing its mission completely on its own, which obviously frees up manpower so our warfighters can focus on other parts of the job. End quote. This is Tom Jones. Who's Tom Jones? Isn't that like some kind of singer or something? Yeah, I think so. Northrop Grumman's president of aeronautic systems. The fighter is modular, meaning it can carry out a number of tasks. Modular, they can put a gun on it, take the gun off, put a camera system on it with the telescoping lens, take that off, put some sprayer on it and spray stuff. It's modular. From air-to-air missiles to bombs. And while the versatility is impressive, what makes these types of aircraft especially attractive to customers is the price. Quote, the aircraft that we have behind us today is really designed for what the Air Force refers to as affordable mass. End quote. Said Jones from Scaled Composites, unassuming hangar in Mojave, about 90 minutes north. Wow, I can't speak tonight. North of Los Angeles. Scaled Composites is a subsidiary of the Northrop Grumman, or the Northrop Group. They should just be the Northrop Group, man. But I guess it's Northrop Grumman. I'm just going to say Grumman. Grumman. Quote, the concept behind affordable mass is to create capable platforms, which this has got all the brains in it of those 500,000 hours of autonomy with it. But it's been designed and packaged with a very affordable type of airframe so that if it does get lost, it's not the same as losing, say, an F-35 or a B-2, which is much more expensive. And obviously, you don't have to have the loss of the crew member, which is also very significant. Typical piloted fighter jets can cost from 75 to 150 million. The Talon comes in at a fraction of the cost, projected to be 15 to 20 million range. Dang. You can get like 3 of these per one. Look, Lockheed Martin, Skunk Works unveils the stealth combat drone. It's coming, y'all. This isn't going to stop. It's not really going to go anywhere. But, we can be prepared. We can know what's coming, be prepared. I'm Skynet, these fools, this is going to get crazy. The universal basic income, the digital currencies that are about to kick off, you're going to see them implemented by banks. That's what the International Monetary Fund has instructed. It's in the white paper. It's called the decashing of society. You can Google the decashing of society, World Economic Forum. It's a white paper. You can read it. I think it's from 2018 or 2017. So what we're seeing has been, long planned. But stay positive. I guess I got to do some positive. We will do some positive current events as well, y'all. But, that's it. I trust you enjoyed the current events. Now take care of yourself. Enjoy yourself. Make sure you say 10 things that you're thankful for before you go to sleep tonight and every night. It's important. And I'll catch y'all next week. I'm going to chill for the weekend. Peace, y'all.